Hello, you're watching Daily News on All News Nigeria. I am Okweyemi Olugbemi. Here are the headlines for today. Tinubu reveals invoked spirit to secure election victory. AWUJALE says Tinubu spoke the mind of God. UPROAR's woman accused of witchcraft burned to death. Welcome back. Now the news. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has averred that he invoked the spirit of freedom and determination in Ogun State when he faced some hurdles before the February 25, 2023 presidential election. He spoke on Thursday, June 29, 2023 in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, when he visited the palaces of the paramount ruler of Ijebu land, Oba Sikiru Adetono, and the Alake of Egba land, Oba Adedotun Gbadebo, in Abeokuta, the state capital. Tinubu said he remained hopeful and optimistic about achieving victory in the last presidential election, despite the ineffective cashless policy implemented by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
To many of you, thank you for being there for me and for being there for the country. You've demonstrated so much loyalty, so much commitment, voted at a very crucial time. Your monies were confiscated. The cash swap didn't work. It was terrible then. I realized that. And I came to Ogun State to invoke the spirit of freedom for which we are noted for. I invoked that spirit twice. The spirit of Baba is Emilokan.
Reflecting on the challenges in the build-up to the 2023 presidential election, Tinubu recounted his concerns about the confiscation of funds and the failure of the cashless policy, and how he had previously sought wisdom and guidance from Oba Adetono during his visit to the palace. According to the president, he invoked the spirit of freedom and determination symbolized by Emilokan to overcome the obstacles in the election. Let's go back memory lane as we recall how Tinubu, who led Lagos from 1999 to 2007 and helped to form his party, the APC, in 2013, had to navigate controversial issues on the path to becoming president-elect. Being a Muslim, his choice of another Muslim and former governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, sparked outrage and drew strong criticism. Questions about his health were constant throughout the campaign, and there were allegations of crime and corruption, which claims he and his team repeatedly denied. There were no respite for him and his campaign. Prolonged fuel scarcity and the Naira redesign policy of the Apex Bank, which led to scarcity of the currency and hardship for Nigerians in the final months of the campaign, left Tinubu and his team with more questions to answer. After all, his party was the ruling party. The Naira redesign policy in particular pitted him and close allies within the party against the Muhammadu Buhari administration, creating division in the party weeks before the election. Frustrated with the seeming lack of support from the president and reported opposition by key members of the presidency, he would go on to make his now famous Emilokan, meaning "it is my turn" speech, on June 2, 2022. In the speech, he narrated how Buhari lost the presidential elections repeatedly until he helped him to win in 2015. Tinubu will later issue a statement declaring his respect for the president.
A meeting grown what you eat in Lady Ogun. Tene Buhari ni soka ma balo. Kò lè di president. Ó ṣe kìíní, olùlẹ̀. Ó ṣe kejì, olùlẹ̀. Ó ṣe kẹta, olùlẹ̀. Ó tiẹ̀ sunkún lórí tẹlifíṣàn. Pé láyé òun ò dùn rán mọ́. mo dẹ̀ lọ bá ń Kaduna wà rán ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀kún kọ́ lélẹ̀ àdúró tiẹ̀ wà á dẹ̀ wọlé nǹkan kan ní pé o ò ní fọ̀rọ̀ orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá ṣeré ó dẹ̀ gbà àtijọ́ tó yẹ ti débẹ̀ mi ò gba mínísítà mi ò gba contract mi ì tọrọ ọbẹ̀ mi ì tọrọ gàrí mi ì tọrọ fúra lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ mi ì dẹ̀ ìyàwó ń bẹ̀ ó wá ní lọ́tẹ̀ yìí o Yorùbá ló kàn. tá a bá dẹ̀ sa Yorùbá náà èmi ló kàn.
Finally, on March 1, 2023, it was indeed Tinubu's turn, either by hook or crook. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, announced the Jagaban's victory. Meanwhile, the paramount ruler of Ijebuland, Obaseki Radetono, postulated that God spoke through President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when the latter said "Emilokon," meaning "it is my turn," during his campaign in Ogun State ahead of the 2023 general elections.
Ọlọ́run gba ọ̀dọ̀ yín sọ̀rọ̀ ní ó ti kàn ẹ́ Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ kó kàn apá ó yí biribiri ó yí kàn mí o ó yí biribiri ó yí kàn wá o.
AWUJALE, of course, stated this while speaking during Tinubu's visit to his palace in Ijebu-Ode on Thursday. In his address, President Tinubu said the AWUJALE of Ijebu-Land is now the Baba of President and no longer Baba of Nadeko.
Then, as he called Baba Nadeko, as he did Baba President.
Tinubu also commended the monarch for supporting his presidential bid. Finally, on the news, tragedy has used in Rivers State burnt a woman to death after accusing her of witchcraft. The deceased woman, identified as Madam Martina Oke-Itagbo, was accused of causing the death of 2 young men who died in a motor accident. She was subsequently brutally murdered by youths of Old Netim in the Akampa local government area of the state. The candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC, in the 2023 presidential election, Omoyele Sowore, while reacting to the killing of Ms. Sweeter Ando on Thursday, urged security agencies to immediately fish out the youths who carried out the barbaric crime and bring them to justice. The human rights activist said there should be no place in the society for such savagery and cruelty, adding that the police stood by while the helpless poor woman burnt. This is not the first time someone will be killed in the state over allegations of witchcraft. On August 27, 2022, 2 widows who were also accused of being witches were lynched in Egbakim community in the Boki local government area of the state. The victims were identified as Mrs. Martina Osom and Mrs. Rose Akon, were on Saturday, August 27, 2022, allegedly tortured to death by youth. The deceased women were identified as devoted Catholics. And that's it on today's news. Keep up with All News Nigeria. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms displayed on the screen. I am Opeyemi Lubemi. Do have a lovely weekend.